Okay, good morning. We are continuing with pons. It is the next higher part of the brainstem. We have completed medulla oblongata. Definitely, I'm going to post this class today. So we have the pons, which is marked in the red color, and the cranial nerves which are coming out from the pons are the trigeminal nerve, the abducens nerve, the facial nerve, and the vestibulocochlear nerve. So that these are the fifth cranial nerve, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth cranial nerve. Now the part of the pons which you are seeing over here is the ventral surface of the pons, or the basilar part of the pons, and we are going to go through the objectives at this moment first. So we have to know, similar to that of the medulla oblongata, the external features of the pons or the gross anatomy of the pons. Secondly, we have to also know the internal features or the cross sections of the pons. Pons cross section at two levels you have to know, that is at the level of the facial colliculus, and next is at the level of the motor and the sensory nuclei of trigeminal nerve. And definitely you have to know about the blood supply, and with the applied aspects a little bit about the blood supply and the syndromes. Okay, let's see the sagittal section. In the sagittal section, you can see over here I have circled out in red color the pons in the middle, and you have the pons and medulla oblongata, and behind the pons and medulla oblongata you have the cerebellum, and between the pons and medulla oblongata and the cerebellum there is a cavity which is the fourth ventricle. So the ventral surface of the pons is facing ventrally or anteriorly, and the dorsal surface of the pons, the lower part of the pons, forms the floor of the fourth ventricle. Now coming to the functions of the pons. So functions are, it connects the medulla and the midbrain, so it is also called the bridge. That's why it transmits information between the spinal cord and higher brain region via the neural circuits, and it also relays the information between the cerebral cortex and the cerebellum. Now I told you even in the last class that this brain stem is very closely connected with the cerebellum behind. So the medulla oblongata was connected with the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle, pons is connected with the cerebellum through the middle cerebellar peduncle, and the midbrain is connected with the cerebellum through the superior cerebellar peduncle. Now middle cerebellar peduncle is thus a communication between the pons and the cerebellum, and it actually gets the fibers also from the cerebral cortex. So it is through the pons the cerebral cortex will connect with the cerebellum. Okay, now let's see the ventral surface of the pons. This is how the ventral surface looks. In gross, the pons is about 2.5 centimeters. It has dorsal and ventral, and the ventral surface is transversely striated because the fibers of one side is crossing over to the other side. So you have transverse striations. You have a groove in the median plane or in the median location, and that groove is called the basilar groove or the basilar sulcus, and it lodges the basilar artery. And definitely its dorsal part, we will come to it in detail. And laterally you can see over here I have labeled something called MCP. What is this MCP? Nothing but the middle cerebellar peduncle, which will connect the pons with the cerebellum. Definitely you have an inferior border and a superior border. The inferior border is the pontomedullary junction, which actually has the nerves. So what are the nerves which are emerging from the pontomedullary junction? Again, for your revision, we have the abducens nerve, both the sides you can see, then the facial nerve and the vestibulocochlear nerve, and also the middle cerebellar peduncle, which is between the middle cerebellar peduncle and the body of the pons we have the trigeminal nerve. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. This shows the dorsal surface of the pons. I told you the lower part of the pons or the forms the floor of the fourth ventricle. So in the dorsal surface of the pons, we can see an elevation in the center, that is the facial colliculus, because of the internal genu of the facial nerve. That is the facial nerve again emerges from the pons. So the nucleus of the facial nerve is also in the pons, and the internal genu of the facial nerve is the winding of the fibers of the facial nerve around the abducens nerve nucleus, which we will go see in the cross section, is also in the pons. So little lateral to that, you can see over here the vestibular area is marked, and you can also see the cerebellopontine angle, which has a lot of clinical importance. So basically, to see the dorsal surface of the pons, we have to remove the cerebellum, open up the roof of the fourth ventricle, and you can see the floor of the fourth ventricle, which is nothing but the dorsal surface, the upper part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, dorsal surface of the pons, whereas the lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle is by the dorsal surface of the medulla oblongata. Now don't worry about the fourth ventricle. The fourth ventricle will be dealt in detail in another class, but still I am going to show you the hand drawn diagram how you have to draw the floor of the fourth ventricle when the fourth ventricle comes as a question. So you can see over here it's a diamond shaped structure. It is very similar to this what you're going to see in the specimens. So you have the superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle, inferior cerebellar peduncle, and in the center you have the green colored two rounded structures, which is the facial colliculus. I told you how is it formed also. And then laterally you can see the light blue colored structure, which is nothing but the vestibular area, or it is because of the underlying vestibular nuclei. And this part is actually forms the dorsal part of the pons. Okay, so now let's go to the comparison. This is just to show you the comparison between the ventral surface and the dorsal surface of the pons. Okay, so next we are going to the cut section of the cross sections. Okay, so internal features of the pons will be studied at two levels. One is the green vertical line, horizontal line. You can see over here it will be through the lower part of the pons. You can see the green line which I have not pulled across, and the upper part of the pons will be the upper closed part of the pons. So lower part of the pons is open because it is forming the floor of the fourth ventricle, and the upper part of the pons gets closed and it is at the level of the motor and sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So lower part of the pons will be through the facial colliculus. Okay, so now if you see this diagram, don't see the upper half of the diagram, you just concentrate on the diagram on the lower half of the diagram. So it is you can see a black bold line, so concentrate on the part of the diagram which is below the black bold line. So that is the basilar part of the pons, or the ventral part of the pons. Okay, so in this ventral surface, we already saw the ventral surface, so it is just a cross section and we are seeing from the ventral to dorsal. So don't look at the dorsal part at this moment, so only concentrate on the lower part of the diagram. So you can see over here, this is called the basilar part of the pons, the lower part of this diagram, especially this section, and this is similar in the lower half of the pons also and in the upper half of the pons also. So to make it easier for you, we are putting it together. So basilar part of the pons, we are seeing basically what are the structures we are seeing over here. We are seeing some black dots. So you can see some black dots which are scattered throughout on both the sides. So those are nothing but the pontine nucleus. We can also see some black lines which are continuous laterally and they continue with the middle cerebellar peduncle. So those are nothing but the fibers, and there are some fibers which are crossing over from one side to the other side. They are transverse fibers, and you also have some longitudinal fibers which are bundles, that is red color bundles, which will go past longitudinally. So we will come to these are the contents of the basilar part. So mainly it consists of longitudinal fibers which pass longitudinally. You have transverse fibers which cross from one side to the other, and you also have some nuclei which are called the pontine nuclei. So we'll come to the fibers. So what are the fibers which are present over here? So you have afferents and efferents. So you can see the bold arrows which are coming from up downwards. So from up, where it is coming from? Cerebral cortex it is coming from. So the afferents are the corticopontine fibers. So it is coming from the cortex and it is coming in the pontine nuclei. So it is the corticopontine fibers, and then they cross over to the other side and they go to and connect to the other side. So these are the transverse fibers, and they are actually going through the middle cerebellar peduncle and forms the pontocerebellar fibers. So they connect with the cerebellum. So corticopontine fibers they are afferents, and efferents are pontocerebellar fibers. So that's the way how the cerebral cortex will communicate with the cerebellum through the pons. There are some also rounded structures which I have rounded it off together. It's like a bundle. These are longitudinal fibers which are coming down from the cerebral cortex, and these fibers are nothing but the corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers. Corticospinal fibers we have already talked about. They are the main pyramidal tracts. They form the pyramidal tracts in the medulla oblongata, and they cross also in the lower part of the medulla oblongata. So we have the pyramidal decussation. We have talked about it. They are the main motor fibers, and they are actually coming from the motor cortex of the cerebrum. And you also have the corticonuclear fibers, which are actually coming from the motor cortex of the cerebrum, and they synapse or terminate in the motor nuclei of the cranial nerves. Like we have already talked about a motor nuclei of cranial nerves, that is the nucleus ambiguous. So what do they? So they are actually coming from the cortex, and they pass through the pons. So thus they form the longitudinal bundle of fibers, nothing but they are motor fibers. So this is actually the forming the basilar part of the pons. So you are only concentrating on the lower half of the diagram, and this basilar part of the pons is similar both in the lower pons and in the upper pons. Whereas when we go to the tegmentum of the pons or the dorsum of the pons, or the dorsal part of the sections of the pons, that is different in the upper and the lower pons. So let's see how is it in the upper pons. So you don't concentrate on the basilar part, you just start concentrating from the structure which is in purple color, a diamond shaped crisscrossing of the fibers, which is diamond shaped in the center just above the basilar part of the pons, which is nothing but the what I am seeing in the center, the diamond shaped purple color with slightly yellow in the center, so which is nothing but the, so you have over here, this is the trapezoid body. Now this trapezoid body, which is lightly purple color, flattened out fiber bundle, is actually connected with auditory system. So it is actually getting fibers from the cochlear nucleus, and it forms a band over here which is called the trapezoid body. Now from the trapezoid body we are going to go upwards to see the tegmentum of the pons and not downwards. Okay, so what we are seeing in the upwards, you can see over here a red color nuclei, which is nothing but it is labeled over here as abducens nuclei. You can see a blue color nuclei, that is nothing but the facial nuclei, motor nucleus of the facial nerve, and the fibers of the facial nerve is forming an internal genu. You can see over here it's labeled over here internal genu of the facial nerve. It winds around the abducens nucleus and it comes out as the facial nerve. You can also see the abducens nerve coming out as the red color nerve, and this winding of these fibers of the facial nerve around the abducens nerve nuclei is called the internal genu, and this also forms an elevation which is called the facial colliculus, which you are seeing in the dorsal surface of the pons. Okay, so now as we concentrate laterally, as we go laterally, we can see very close to the facial nerve nuclei, motor nucleus of facial nerve, we can see the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, which is actually getting the sensations from the face of the face, and the motor nucleus of facial nerve actually innervates gives the motor supply to the facial muscles. So the motor nucleus of the facial nerve comes very close to the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So this phenomena of migration of motor nucleus of facial nerve close to the trigeminal nerve nucleus is called neurobiotaxis, which we are going to talk to you a little later, and same thing will be explained to you. Okay, so now again we are seeing the other nucleus, the vestibular nuclei more laterally, and also the cochlear nucleus. Remember that vestibulocochlear nucleus comes out from the pons, the vestibulocochlear nerve comes out from the pons, so the nuclei will be there in the section of the pons. Now you can see laterally also we have the superior cerebellar peduncle, the inferior cerebellar peduncle, a part of it is seen, but just below that you can see the transverse fibers, which are very important, continuation of the basilar part of the pons laterally as the middle cerebellar peduncle, which we are not talking about at this moment. Okay, now see in the median plane. So we have finished all the nuclei at this level. In the median plane, we have bundles of white matter. Okay, so what are the bundles in the median plane? MTR. So M stands for median longitudinal bundle. These are the crisscross communicating fibers between the cranial nerves, third cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve, and 5th cranial nerve, 6th cranial nerve, even 9th, 10th, 11th, all cranial nerves are communicating through this M, that is the medial longitudinal bundle. Below the M we have the T, that is the tectospinal tract. They control the movements of the eye with the movements of the neck. So it's a coordination of the movement of the eye with the movement of the neck through this tract, which is called the tectospinal tract. Then below that we have the rubrospinal tract, which is a part of the extrapyramidal system. Now again below that we are seeing some green colored bundles, right, flattened bundles of fibers, which we have also seen in medulla oblongata. So it's just a continuation. So what are these flattened bunds? So you have the medial lemniscus. In medulla oblongata, we have seen the formation of the medial lemniscus. So they are nothing but they are carrying the fibers of the internal arcuate fibers. How they were formed? They were formed at the level of the sensory decussation, from the fibers from the nucleus gracilis, nucleus cuneatus crossed over and formed the medial lemniscus, which was actually carrying the sensations of vibration and conscious proprioception from the trunk and the limbs through the tract of gall and buttock or the posterior column. They were coming and synapsing at the nucleus gracilis, nucleus cuneatus in the medulla oblongata, and they were forming the medial lemniscus, and this is going to go to the thalamus. Now this is going to be very easy if you continue first read the medulla oblongata and then come to pons, because it's just a continuation of these fibers. Then slide lateral to the medial lemniscus we have the spinal lemniscus. We also saw the spinal lemniscus formation. So you can see the spinal lemniscus over here. We saw the formation of spinal lemniscus in medulla oblongata also. It is nothing but the spinothalamic tracts, the lateral spinothalamic, the anterior spinothalamic tracts forms the spinal lemniscus, because they have to again reach the thalamus, and they are carrying the sensations of pain, temperature, crude touch. Okay, so all these sensations, conscious sensations, it carries from the trunk and the limbs. So these more or less are the fibers at the tegmentum at the level of facial colliculus. Now here the most remarkable feature or most distinguished feature of this section is the facial colliculus, which you have to remember, and how is it formed you have to remember. Okay, now let's go to the slide which is at the upper level, that is you have the at the level of the motor and the sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So you can see the motor nucleus, the sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, and the formation of the trigeminal nerve at this level. You cannot see the facial nerve nuclei anymore, neither the abducent nucleus, neither the vestibulocochlear nuclei, but we can see a part of the superior cerebellar peduncle. Definitely middle cerebellar peduncle is seen very well, and the trigeminal nerve is coming out between the middle cerebellar peduncle and the basilar part of the pons. Definitely the trapezoid body is also seen in the center. You can see the tracts, the medial lemniscus, the trigeminal lemniscus. Okay, so trigeminal lemniscus is formed. It is nothing but the tract of the trigeminal nerve, and then you have the spinal lemniscus, and now there is a formation of another extra lemniscus, that is the lateral lemniscus, which is actually formed from the trapezoid body. So it is actually concerned with the auditory tract. I told you trapezoid body and lateral lemniscus are very important for auditory tract. Okay, in the paramedian position, again we are seeing the MTR. M stands for medial longitudinal bundle, T stands for tectospinal tract, and R stands for rubrospinal tract. So here you are having two nuclei. You have to remember at this level, which is very important feature, that is the motor nucleus and the sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so let's proceed. So this is actually explaining the neurobiotaxis phenomena. I have already talked about it. It is actually the migration of the facial nerve towards the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, which carries sensory sensations from the face, that is pain, temperature, touch, crude touch. Okay, all these are carried by the trigeminal nerve, spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve from the face, and so thus the motor nucleus of the facial nerve is migrating towards the sensory nerve, and this is because it will reduce the reflex time. So sensations can be picked up and the motor, the muscles can react. So thus it reduces the reflex time. So this is a kind of a adaptive mechanism. So this mechanism is called the neurobiotaxis. Okay, so now as we I have here again circled out all these tracks, that is which is all in green. So you can see all these are sensory tracks. They are nothing but medial lemniscus, then we have the trigeminal lemniscus, the spinal lemniscus, and we also have the lateral lemniscus. So all these lemnisci are nothing but the sensory tracts. You know what is medial lemniscus? It carries vibration, conscious proprioception. Spinal lemniscus carries pain, temperature, touch, crude touch. Okay, so all these sensations from the trunk and the limbs. Okay, and then we have the trigeminal lemniscus, which again carries the conscious sensations, that is pain, temperature, touch, all these things from the face, and the lateral lemniscus, which is associated with hearing. Okay, auditory pathway. So these are just showing you the sensory tracts. Okay, now in the center again this MTR, which I have already explained what are these bundles. So these are all in the paramedian position, has been labeled out. So coming to the blood supply of the pons. So pons is supplied by the pontine branch of basilar artery. So they are mainly the basilar artery will supply the pons. So I have already explained you there are two vertebral arteries which forms the posterior circulation of the brain takes part. So the two vertebral arteries will join and form the basilar artery at the lower border of the pons at the pontomedullary junction, and before it joins it definitely gives out some branches like anterior inferior cerebellar artery, labyrinthine artery, and we have already talked about the blood supply of the medulla, in which I have already spoken about the pica artery, that is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery, which was coming from the vertebral artery. Now this basilar artery is very important for the blood supply of the pons, and even there are at least the basilar part of the pons is supplied by direct branches from the basilar artery. There are other arteries which also take part in the blood supply of the pons, like anterior inferior cerebellar artery, which is given just above the junction of the two vertebral arteries to form the basilar artery. And also the basilar artery also gives rise to the upper border of the pons, it gives rise to superior cerebellar artery, which also takes part in the blood supply of the pons. Now what about the venous drainage? Yes, it drains into the inferior petrosal veins and basilar plexus of vein. Okay, so now let's it is just showing how the basilar artery and direct branches from the basilar artery are supplying the major part of the pons. You can see over here. So they are also called the pontine arteries. So this is the diagram. This is a very good pictorial representation of it. Okay, now let's see all the lesions which are caused, which are some of the clinical anatomy and the syndromes. So I talked about the cerebellopontine angle. So we were talking about that is an angle between the pons and the cerebellum, the lateral part of the pons and the cerebellum. And there are some cranial nerves which are emerging from here, especially the facial nerve. You have the trigeminal nerve also, and you also have the middle cerebellar peduncle, which is on the lateral aspect of the section of the pons, and also you have the vestibulocochlear nerve, which is also getting compressed. So if there is a mass occupying lesion at this level, that is if there is an acoustic neuroma of the vestibular nerve, so this angle can get compressed and there will be symptoms which will be resulting because of the compression features of all these structures. Okay, so what it will happen, it will compress the 8th cranial nerve. Definitely 8th cranial nerve will be involved in acoustic neuromas, and you have persistent tinnitus, progressive deafness. Remember that vestibulocochlear nerve is related with hearing and balance. So tinnitus, deafness, vertigo will be there, nausea, nystagmus. Okay, then you also have cerebellar signs or cerebellar lesions because the middle cerebellar peduncle is involved. You have ipsilateral cerebellar signs. You have tremors, ataxia, past pointing, that is dysmetria. Okay, and then you also have spinal trigeminal nucleus, and the tracts will be also involved because the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve and the tract is very close to the lateral part of the pons. Okay, so you have ipsilateral loss of pain and temperature sensation from the face. So pain and temperature sensation is lost. Then facial nerve is also getting compressed on that side. So you have ipsilateral Bell's palsy, you have hyperacusis and loss of taste sensation, all because of facial nerve involvement. Okay. So now coming to another syndrome. So you have something called a Raymond syndrome or alternating abducent hemiplegia. So this is because of the occlusion of the paramedian branches of basilar artery. So if the paramedian branches of basilar artery is occluded, it will definitely affect the abducent nerve because it is in the median position. So abducent nerve is affected. So abducent nerve is very important because it is supplying the lateral rectus muscle, okay, of the extraocular muscles. So it causes an internal squint, so ipsilateral paralysis of lateral rectus. It also affects the basilar part of the pons where you have all these fibers, okay, bundle of longitudinal fibers, the corticospinal fibers. So it will also cause a contralateral hemiplegia. So motor system will also get affected. Okay, so that is about the Raymond syndrome. And then we have the Millard-Gubbelaar syndrome. In Millard-Gubbelaar syndrome, we are having the alternating facial hemiplegia. So facial hemiplegia is nothing but it is because of the also a little lateral branches of the basilar artery is getting involved. So you have the involvement of the 7th cranial nerve. So definitely it will cause Bell's palsy, ipsilateral, hyperacusis and loss of taste, and pyramidal tract will also get involved, and so there will be a contralateral hemiplegia. Okay, so this is actually some of the syndromes. You can read up on the syndromes because it is very interesting. So to sum up the Pons class, what we have is, you have to remember, again I'm going back to your objectives so that again we can just sum up what and all we did. We dealt the external features in dorsal surface, the ventral surface. Remember, the ventral surface is also the basilar part of the pons, and you have the basilar groove, you have the transverse striated fibers, transverse striations, you have the middle cerebellar peduncle which comes as a spotter, you have the cranial nerves which are coming out of the pons. Very important are the trigeminal nerve, the abducent nerve, and you have the facial nerve and the vestibulocochlear nerve. So 5, 6, 7, 8, you saw that. And then also we have gone through the floor of the 4th ventricle, which will be again dealt, but still we have also covered the dorsal surface of the pons. In that we have talked about the facial colliculus, the vestibular area, and we have shown you the diamond shaped floor of the 4th ventricle. And coming to the internal features, remember that we have to learn 2 levels. One is at the level of facial colliculus, and remember all the cranial nerves which are coming out from the pons, and please remember to draw the nuclei, okay. And then we have also seen at the level of motor nucleus and sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So it is as the name suggests, it has only 2 nuclei, motor nucleus and sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Remember that basilar part of the pons in both the sections, that is at the lower level and the upper level, is similar. So you don't have to worry about the basilar part of the pons. Next, definitely the blood supply we talked about, and we talked about some of the syndromes which are very interesting. You can go back and see all the syndromes. So I think it is more or less this covers the Pons class, and I think you are going to read up the Pons class. Remember that we are going to give you this in the assignment, facial colliculus, because this is very important diagram, and it also shows a very important phenomena in neuroanatomy which is called the neurobiotaxis, which comes in your competitive exams repeatedly. Okay, so thank you.